Before I play the video of Jerry Nadler, just to give you some idea in what happened in this video, Representative Jerry Nadler expresses his outrage over the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent in Minnesota. He describes the incident as quote-unquote murder and highlights that the video evidence clearly shows 3 shots were fired through a side window with no apparent threat to the officer. Let's take a listen.
The video clearly shows 3 shots through this side window. There is no threat to the officer when he's on the side. And to make it even worse, ICE agents then refused to allow a doctor to approach the victim. Now, my conclusion, as I said, is that this is murder. Others will disagree. This committee ought to investigate that. The horror of yesterday's shooting has been compounded by the outrageous lies told by the highest levels of the Trump administration. Mr. Chairman, I want to join my colleagues in expressing my outrage over yesterday's horrific murder by an ICE agent in Minnesota that took the life of an innocent and defenseless young woman. The video clearly shows 3 shots through this side window. There is no threat to the officer when he's on the side. And to make it even worse, ICE agents then refused to allow a doctor to approach the victim. Now, my conclusion, as I said, is that this is murder. Others will disagree. This committee ought to investigate that. Unfortunately, this tragedy was the predictable result of a brutal and reckless campaign to strike fear in immigrant communities across the country. The same agency whose masked agents are arresting U.S. citizens and tearing children away from their parents is using increasingly aggressive and violent tactics that can only lead to more tragedy. And this is being fueled by billions of dollars approved by this committee to fund not only these aggressive raids, but also to fund a military-style recruitment operation with lax hiring standards and loosened training requirements.
Now, just to recap a few more things, I think very, very important point before you get distracted. Nadler further condemns ICE agents for refusing to allow a doctor to approach the victim. He states that this tragedy is the quote-unquote predictable result of a brutal and reckless campaign by ICE that fueled and that gets his money by billions of dollars. ICE is being funded, and criticizes their aggressive tactics and lax hiring standards. Take a listen.
The horror of yesterday's shooting has been compounded by the outrageous lies told by the highest levels of the Trump administration in an attempt to convince the public they didn't see what they saw, to convince the public that the victim brought this upon herself in some way by threatening the agents, when video of the incident clearly shows that is not the case. Just as the White House has tried to rewrite the history of January 6th with false and malicious misinformation spread on its website, administration officials are now trying to tell us not to believe what we see with our own eyes.
Not only this, I just want to add a few more things. He then blasts the Trump administration and Secretary Kristi Noem for spreading quote-unquote outrageous lies to convince the public that the victim was threatening the agents, despite video evidence to the contrary. Nadler calls this behavior dangerous and offensive, quote-unquote, dangerous and offensive, and demands immediate oversight by the committee, including hearing on ICE's standards and the appearance of Secretary Noem.
This is dangerous and offensive, and this calls out for immediate oversight by this committee. We should be having hearings and demanding accountability for all those involved. We should be having hearings on the standards used by ICE in recruitment and training. We should demand the appearance of Secretary Noem before this committee. But instead, here we are today with yet another set of partisan messaging bills that will do nothing to keep our community safe. My heart goes out to the victim's family, to all those who knew and loved her. May her memory be a blessing.
First thing that I think we should all do is unmask ICE. Whenever you are going to a community, ICE agents, you need to unmask yourself, because that sight, when people see you in mask, they get terrified. They're frightened. And so they behave recklessly sometimes. They panic. Renee Good would have kept it quiet. She would not have driven away or tried to drive away from those ICE agents when she got shot had they not been masked, had they been just normal, behaving normal. But when you are covering your face and you approach somebody in the morning, I mean, it can be very, very scary. So they need to be unmasked, ICE, and then they need to be abolished. And they need to be, before that, they need to be held accountable. Subscribe for more videos.